Okay, I'm hitting random card and telling you a story about whatever we find. Today's random card is Noxious Revival. Ooh, alright, we have a little Phyrexian mana in the house. Plenty to say about that. Okay, so let's kick back to New Phyrexia. There's a new mechanic introduced called Phyrexian mana. You can pay life instead of the mana to cast the spell. And there's 5, in particular, a cycle of 5 spells that all cost a single Phyrexian mana to cast, meaning any deck can play them. They range from Noxious Revival, which puts a card on top of your library, to Mental Misstep, which counters a spell, the Gut Shot, which deals the damage, and so on. So Phyrexian mana, was it a mistake? Here's my take on Phyrexian mana. Phyrexian mana, permanence, more reasonable. Because, well, any color can kind of get an artifact that does something generically, and yeah, maybe it gets a little bit cheaper here or something, but that's fine. But Phyrexian mana spells, and especially free ones that any color can play, that breaks the color pie a lot more easily. So Dismember, even though you have to pay 1 mana for it, that's really not a thing that like mono green should be able to do. And especially, I find these 1 mana ones particularly egregious. I mean, Mental Misstep had to get banned in formats because it was so strong, and Noxious Revival lets any color put something on top of its library from the graveyard, which is not something that on the color pie should be able to happen. Now, I know it can be a fun effect to have access to, but it is not something we generally like any color to have the ability to use. Now, it's interesting that in Commander, you actually don't get that, right? Because your deck is locked into green color identity by putting Noxious Revival in it regardless. You can't just put this in a white deck or something like that. So the way it plays in Commander is different from, say, a draft or standard environment. But overall, I'm down on Phyrexian mana spells, but we could do some Phyrexian mana permanence if we needed to.